Well, there you have it. I'm very pleased to announce that I've passed my City and Guilds 18th edition uh, understanding the requirements of electrical installation, BS 7671. That was on the 30th, which was yesterday. Today's the 31st of August. And as you can see, I got 70%. So I've got a pass. It was an exam, 2-hour exam, boys and girls. 2 hours exam, on-screen exam of 60 questions. I don't have any experience in electrical work. I've just done a 4-day electrical foundation course. 2 days, I think it was just learning how to use tools, cable, wire up sockets into a circuit board, etc., etc. Second, and then the third and fourth day was mainly with electrical testing, with electrical, with the mega ohm and all this kind of business. Let me tell you something. I've always had massive respect for electricians. Doing this course has given me even more respect for electricians, and that it's very, very important that you always get a good electrician who has, electrical training and has been, done the, has been to college and has certificate to be able, and also is able to give you a certificate for your work. If you know that person really, really well, and he's a guy, because there are guys out there who do electrical work but aren't able to provide a certificate because what they do is get somebody else in, which is perfectly fine, there's no problem with that, to actually do the testing. And these guys do big projects, so they're not interested in, changing an electrical fan or, 1 or 2 sockets, because they can't give certificates. If you've got to provide a new socket, a new installation from the fuse box, or sorry, a new installation from another socket. So if you've got to chisel into that wall, and then, from one socket to another, in a horizontally, so you've got, say for instance, you've got 4 meters away, 5 meters away, there's a socket, but you want another socket in the opposite direction, then, a channel's got to be dug out in the wall, of at least 50 millimeters depth, and then, you put in your either plastic oval trunking or metal trunking, and then plaster it over, whatever it is, and make good, because people generally in homes don't want to see the cable, whereas in my home, my flat, and my mother's flat, in council flats, you generally see the cables are put in trunking, which is great because you can see how the cabling's been done. And I'm looking at my cabling, and it's all done in white trunking. Again, which is, I personally prefer that, but people, and I have a problem with it, but a lot of people don't want to see trunking all over the place in their house. They want to see it embedded, and it all looks minimal and blah blah blah. But the course was an eye opener for me, on how, I know everybody knows the danger of electrics, and you just avoid it, make as much as possible. But if you're going to be someone who actually provides the electrics, the person who's going to provide it, you need to know what they're doing. And You know, just getting any old bog standard person to come in, oh, I need this circuit done, you know, for 60 quid. Remember, you're putting your life in your own hands. Seriously. Because people who can do a job for £60, really? Whereas if you get a qualified electrician who can write his own work off and give you a certificate in your hand and knows that you cannot and should not provide a socket in a bathroom if it's less than 3 meters distance from the edge of the bath. Because there are people who provide sockets in the bathroom and then you're not allowed to. Although I think generally even some box standard electricians know they can't provide sockets in the bathroom because of water moisture. But a good electrician who can write his work off and taking responsibility for that job is going to make sure he does that job properly, because it can electrocute you. You can be injured if he doesn't do it correctly. I'll give you this example. A friend of mine, a friend of his came around to do just a quick job. I think it was to do with dimmer switch, and he couldn't understand. After a period of time, he kept walking. It was near his front door, and every time he walked past, he could hear this noise. He couldn't understand where it was coming from, and he thought it was something else. He was looking around. He thought he couldn't find. And then eventually he narrowed it down to the switch. So when he took the switch off, opened up the switch, because he does work with his mate and does electrical work for him, he could see that it was arcing. It hadn't been screwed down properly, and so there was some arcing in that was what it was. It hadn't been screwed down properly. Because there was a couple of cables in there. And so there is apparently a new device that's out that detects arcing. Again, this is what I was talking, of course, never knew anything about it. But the problem is it's about £100 odd. So it's part of an RCD. It's fairly bulky. So I think it takes up 2 slots of where an RCD would normally, you'd have 2 RCDs together. This one takes a double slot. And what this points out is if you don't screw down your terminals properly and make sure it's fully tightened, so that everything is tightened properly, and if you get, so in other words, if the cables are way too loose inside, and that can cause arcing, which can cause burning in your house, and the RCDs don't trip on that. That's the thing. So there's a new device that's apparently out, quite expensive. I said before, it's £100 odd, that detects arcing. So if there's any arcing in a socket, it'll just trip, and it will be because the screw's not tied up properly. So these new things are being added into electrics every day to make life safe for everybody, which is great. But the reason why I did this course is not I'm not going to be doing electrical work. It's because I want to do pat testing. And even I don't think you really need to do an electrician's course to do pat testing, but it seems a lot of people do pat testing have been or are electricians. So if you've got a certificate that you're a domestic installer and you've done the course, and also you've got to, that will give me a better chance of being able to go to a company. Once I've done the pat testing course, which is a 2-day course that will add to this, that's all I'll be doing. So I'll go to them. I say, look, I'm trained on pat testing. I've done the course. I'm trained. I've also done an electrician's course, and I've got a I worked with an electrician for a few months. So you've got experience. Pat testing is not difficult, but again, you're testing equipment that part of that equipment may be dangerous. It's part of the sheathing may be exposed electrically, so you've got to be careful of that. And if it is, you condemn it and say no, you can't use it, it's dangerous. Because that's the whole point, is to test the equipment that it's fit to still be connected to electrical supply. Otherwise, it's likely to give you a shock and injure you, or fatally kill you. So it's also a good idea to get a fundamental idea of how to do wire up sockets. But the most important thing is, if you're a DIY person, I'm sure a lot of DIY guys go on evening classes on how to wire up circuits, or courses like this, how to wire up circuits properly, how to use the correct cable, how to make sure that when you're wiring, put wiring into the wall, that it's put at a correct depth, and generally done horizontally to the ground or horizontally up to the ceiling, or to go up into the loft area. Because one of the things when I'm, if you're installing, say for instance, TVs into a wall, never assume that that brick wall has nothing in there. There could be cables running up through or across that wall, which is plain, you think it's plain, and there could be, piping in that wall. That's why you see a lot of people go through piping, and I suppose I'd rather go through a pipe and water spurting out everywhere than go through an electric and get shocked. It's, or gas piping, but generally it's going to be water pipe that's going to be behind the wall. So I've got a device that tests through to see if there's any piping in that location, because it's very important. Because if there is, even if you were to hang something, if that piping is at the correct depth it should be, as long as you don't use too deep of screws, you use red rule plugs, and you mark your drill so that it only goes a certain depth, less than 50 mil, then you'll miss that piping. But I mean, as long as you know it's there. But as I said, this course is basically to do the exam. You go through the blue book, which is the new 18th edition, and you're taught by the lecturer. I did a 3-day course on how to find the answers to the questions. So in the exam, the online exam, it's 60 questions done over 2 hours. Now, someone like me who has no electrical experience was able to pass this course because I paid attention, but not just pay attention, I did the fundamentals 4 days, and then did domestic installers course, which is 4 days as well, although I didn't pass the last exam, which is what I need to go back to. I needed 3 more points, but that was down to my own fault. I didn't read the study notes, which was sent to me by the course. So even though we went through it, a lot of the stuff on the 4-day, you still need to do the study. You still need to do your own studying. You've got to do your own studying. But if you do that, over the 4 days. And it's hard because, you know, if you've been on the course and you get home and then, you know, then you have to do at least a couple of hours of revision. So I was then able to do this course, which is 60 questions. The final exam on the domestic caller was only 20 questions. And you had to get 12, and I got 9. So I'm going to have to study to do that final exam of the domestic installers. This one I passed. I'm very happy. I thought this was going to be I thought I was going to have to repeat this course, but you know, I've done pretty well. I got 70%, which is out of 60, 42 marks. So I'm very happy. The more experienced guys, a few got 46, 48. I think one other guy got probably 59 out of 60. You know, just wow. So yeah, I'm very pleased. I'm very happy. So I won't be touching this again. I probably will take the plumber's course to do plumbing, not, you know, to the boiler, but to do basic things, you know, fix, you know, taps, clear drainage in the sink and stuff like that. But I won't touch the toilet. The bath, you know, unblocking a bath, things like that. I mean, there's loads of jobs out there where people, you know, the bath is blocked, or the sink is blocked. There's a guy came in with a big unit, and it's a pipe that goes into the sink, and it feeds right through, and it's a motor that then, you know, basically chops up whatever is blocking the sink and clears it. You know, so, but I think that's a 5-day course. So, which is good. So I'll be looking at taking that probably after Christmas, in the new year. I won't be doing it now. So yeah, as I said before, it's a 60 question multi-choice. I'm sorry, I forgot to say 60 questions multi-choice. All of it. It's not a written exam, and it has to be done in 2 hours, or you've got 2 hours to do it. And I actually comfortably did it with about 5 minutes to go, which I was very surprised, because when I did the 60 questions on the evening before the exam, I was struggling. I'd got up to 45 questions and I had 15 minutes to go and to do the other questions. And when I got down to 5 minutes, I still had 4 more questions to go. And what the lecturer says, look, if you're still struggling to do these questions, the best thing to do is just, you know, choose one. Pick one. Out of 4, if you've got, say, 4 or 5 or 2 questions left or whatever, or 1 question, all the questions are 4. There are always 4 answers on each question. So just take a lucky dip out of the 4, and hope that you get the right answer out of the 4, A, B, C, or D. But obviously you need to do the studying as much as you can. You get exam questions to go through. It's tough, but as I've shown, someone who has, myself, who's got no experience, can do it. The more experienced guys got much higher scores than me, but that's to be expected. And yeah, so I did my course, Builder Training Centre Limited, down in Croydon. Great place. Parking is a little bit difficult because they don't have any parking spaces there. It is what it is, but because they've got two buildings, the electrical course is done on another site across the road, and then the main building. So they've got two sites. But if you go to there, parking is incredibly cheap. Per day, along the Epsom Road, it's £3. It's £3 for 8 hours. So if you get there at 8:30 or 8:25, and then you put your park in, it will take you up to nearly 5 o'clock. So the courses end about 4:30, 4:45. So, which is brilliant. So there is another place I was parking before, which is near the McDonald's. I can't remember the name of the road. Free parking there, but that's like a 5 to 10 minute walk, but it's free. But you've got to find it. It's just after McDonald's. I can't remember the name of the road. There are some other places that you can park for free as well. You've just got to hunt them down. If not, then, as I said, literally down the road from the centre, there's a station at the back of the centre, or if you can turn left, walk all the way down the road, and then there's parking there, metered parking, and that is £3 per day, which is So when I go back to do my pat testing, I don't think there's a weekend course. I think it's during the week. That's where I'll be parking, because it's nice and easy then. It's just literally across the road, and I'm there. So yeah. Well, anyway, thanks for listening. Anybody who's thinking of doing electrician's course, be very aware. I would suggest that you, even though the package course is cheaper, if you can do them in blocks. So if you've got no real experience in electrics, do the fundamental course, which is there's actually two. One 2-day course, and then there's another 2-day course. I think that's testing and stuff at the end. So the first 2 days is so you'll how to do wire up a ring circuit and a radial circuit, and what they are, the tools that you need to use, how to strip cables, how to put them on the wall. I can't remember. Was it the second day you did testing, or is it just the wiring? I think it was just the wiring. Oh no, second day you used the Mega to test your work, and then the third and fourth day I think it's just more of the same, similar, but more testing with the Mega itself. One of the tools that I'm going to be buying, because I will be looking to do small jobs in the future, sockets. I can change. I'll be able to change socket. I can do socket changes. For USB, not a problem. Most people can do that. I'll be looking at doing extractor fan changes. The Fluke T90 I've ordered. It's a really good tester, because it tells you straight away when you go across the line for neutral, this is 230 volts, and it comes up in the light. So if you've got a meter and you're going, sometimes you have to go to the settings, the correct settings, then you have to look and see, work out where the decimal point, all the this tells you straight away 230 volts. Again, the minimal voltage in the UK is 230, not 240. I've always thought it was 240, but it's apparently 230. Although I mean, this is the reason why when I've been testing my tester, I've been seeing 230. I think, well, I'm seeing 230, 232 and some stuff like that. But apparently, in Europe it's 220. The Europeans try to get Britain to reduce from 240 to 230. They said, as usual, said no. But we'll come down to 230 as our minimal. And so the standard is in Europe is between 220, I think it's, and 250, 260. So theoretically, when you take your hairdryer to Spain, even though it's 230, it will work, but it won't work as good or as if it's in the UK. It will be a lot slower, but that's what it is. So, as I said, the nominal voltage in the United Kingdom is actually 230, not 240, as I thought it was. Again, these are things that you learn on this course, which is really, really handy. So, as I said before, I think it's better to do in blocks. So do one block, 4-day foundation course, then give it a week or 2 weeks, come back and then do the domestic installer course, which is a part P, basically, 4-day course. Then come back and do the 18th edition, which at the moment the book is very, very expensive. It's £85. It cost me 85 quid for the book, but you need it. There's no other choice. You can use the 17th edition, but there have been quite a few editions in the 17th, in the 18th. So if you use the 17th edition, you've just got to try and get all your information as much as you can from the lecturer, and work from the 17th edition. Otherwise, just buy the 18th edition and be done with it. Yeah, so there you are. Thanks for listening. If you could pass this around for me, please do. I'll be grateful. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.